Well, hello there, and welcome to Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. We're so happy that you're here today.
Ah, that's good, Joe.
Yes, it's coffee time. Coffee. Cappuccino. Java. Yes.
You are being watched. The government has a secret system, a machine that spies on you every hour of every day.
One man has the skills. One man has the resources. Person of interest.
GDN presents Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. Today's binge is Person of Interest.
Welcome back to Coffee Binge. I'm Martin Sexton, and as always, I'm proud to introduce my soulmate, the straw that stirs the drink in the Sexton household, the peanut to my peanut brittle, and if you ever seen me bend down to pick something up, you understand the brittle part. My lovely wife, Kathy. Good morning, Kathy.
Well, good morning, Martin. And that is interesting about the straw, because I thought I was the one who broke the camel's back. Now,
who said anything about the broke a camel's back?
You said something about a straw, and I assumed
Yes.
you meant it was me who was breaking your back. So that's okay. I get it. I love you so much. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. See, all that rosiness and everything that that I complained about last time.
Well, you're not going to get any more of that.
Well, no, I got that. See, but the point is that's generally before her morning coffee. So after her morning coffee, she sounds like Giselle from Enchanted. I, on the other hand, sound more like the Grinch in the morning, where I must stop morning from coming.
That's funny.
So anyway, just like last time, we're going to start out and give Kathy a chance to talk about anything that she wants to get off her chest, or anything that's exciting that's happened since our last time of talking. So
Well, let's get at it.
Okay, well, please don't interrupt me. Fine, go ahead.
I won't. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is that we let somebody listen to our podcast, and of course it was one of my kids, and they were just, oh my God, they were so bored with it. And she says, why you guys having a podcast anyway? And it's because they think it's ridiculous, and they think we're ridiculous, and well, we are ridiculous, but that's okay.
They're fired.
Yeah, we're not asking them their opinion anymore. But we figured this, in this time where people are going to be busy, being kind of shut in a little bit, here's something that they can do after they take a nice little walk outside to get some fresh air, come back inside, make a great big bowl of popcorn, and settle in, and let's watch something good. And binge watching shows of seasons past requires no wasting of time, no commercials, and best of all, you can rewind it 10 times when you don't understand what they said. And you keep trying to understand what they said. Then you try to put on closed captioning, and it goes by so fast you still don't know what they said. But then you can watch it again and again. Then you go, oh, that's what they said. And that's the most satisfying part about binge watching for me. And then there's also when your dog is barking at the front door because your food delivery service has gotten here, and you can then pause again and go get your food and relax.
What did we order?
Chinese.
Chinese? Again?
Mexican?
Okay, fine.
All right.
What happened to go American?
Oh, well, fine. Let's get hamburgers. Let's order hamburgers that we can make on the
What,
stove.
so I don't get the Chinese?
All right, that's enough of this. Enough! So anyway, that's how I like it. And I like everything that way. That's the way I like it.
And now, of course, also the problem we had is schedule-wise, we couldn't watch these shows back when they were being broadcast on network TV, mainly because, you had your mother and Jeffrey to deal with. I had to be up at 1:30, so I couldn't stay up to watch them. And besides, of course, the things we've talked about previously is that we're too impatient to wait for the
I don't have any patience.
Right, for the next episode or for the next season.
Instant gratification.
Okay, just like Outlander, where you picked that out for us, you also picked out Person of Interest.
Which was great.
Which was
A great idea for me.
which one? Outlander or
The,
First
both of
Adventure?
them. I basically I haven't picked out a stinker yet. So, so let me just say this though. Picked out persons of interest because I was doing my usual flip through Netflix. Let me see what I want to watch next, and I saw Jim Caviezel's face, and I said, I like him. Let me check this out. And I played it, and I said, oh, that looks very interesting. I think I might like to try to look at that. So anyhow, I happened to be talking to Hazel, Mom's caregiver, who I love very much. And she says, hey, I've watched that show. It's really good. You should watch it. So I said, okay. So I decided I was going to go ahead and watch the first episode because Martin was in bed and I was bored. So I went ahead and watched it. And man, oh man, I was like, oh, we got to watch this. So I didn't watch anymore, though I did want to watch the next episode. But I decided to go ahead and be calm, let Martin know about it, and then we started watching it together. It was awesome.
Wow. That you ever thought about being an auctioneer? I never
was.
heard that many words get out at one time.
Well, I don't want to keep going,
No, you didn't.
Nobody needs to hear all that nonsense.
Well, boy, are they going to be sad for this show. Okay, so right, so you had already watched the first episode
Right.
when you got me on it, and for those probably the 6 or 7 people who have never seen it,
That's true.
Right, it went from 2011 to 2016, went 5 years. And as she said, it starred Jim Caviezel. But if you've ever seen Passion of the Christ, he played Jesus Christ. He's also played in movies like Deja Vu, where he was kind of
he was great. That was a great movie
Right.
too. You got to watch that if you haven't seen it. That's Denzel Washington, Jim Caviezel. Lots of goodness in that one. That's very exciting. I like it.
Okay, and Michael Emerson, which
I
saw
like
him
Michael
from Lost.
He's
Yep.
awesome.
Taraji P. Henson, and
She's awesome.
Yep, and for some reason or another, we're big fans of TV shows and movies, for that matter, with badass women.
That's correct. You know why? Because they are always they're way badasser than the guys are a lot of times. Especially like even in Thor Ragnarok when we find the Valkyrie there. She's a badass. And all the Valkyries were badasses. So,
Which I thought was funny because your brother Mike said he didn't like it because she was beating people up.
Yeah, boo-hoo, you big male chauvinist, Mike.
Okay, and of course also...
He's not a male chauvinist.
No.
He's not really. I didn't mean it like that. He just...
Well, obviously it bothered him to see a woman kicking people's butts, so I wasn't sure.
Well, I think that's... And I guess that some people would like to see women be sweet and nice and all that stuff. But you know what? Women are strong people. They are strong. They are strong not only physically, but they're strong mentally. And they are capable of handling a hell of a lot more than men on a pretty much regular basis.
Right, and in this show, basically, there really were no weak-kneed women in this show.
I probably wouldn't have liked it if it was.
And of course, like I said, I'm kind of a big fan of that. It's probably why I like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Melinda May. Cause
she's cool.
Kicks butt. So anyway, the plot of the show basically involves, it was kind of set initially after 9/11 because, the government said that, okay, to avoid these kinds of,
Terrible things.
Yeah, terrorist attacks that kill massive people, we need to find a way to get as much information from everyone as we can, which is why they started had the ability to listen in on people's phones and different things. And we need a system to analyze this information and possibly pick out possible terrorist attacks that will kill massive amounts of people before they happen. So that's what Michael Emerson's character, he designed the computer that would analyze this information.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit? The Minority Report.
Actually, it has similarities to lots of different things.
Yeah. I mean, as far as how they're trying to pre-guess when people are going to make a mistake or just by their actions or what's getting ready
for
to
that
happen.
matter, that in the Avengers, was it the second Avengers where they were designing the computer system on the helicarriers to just take out people that were going to cause them a problem future down the line.
Yes.
Just even children. I'm not sure how the heck that system worked, but that's kind of basically how this system worked. But as he designed the system, what it would be doing, it would pick out the situations where it looked like massive amounts of people were going to die, but it was throwing away. It was actually giving information that would detect smaller crimes where like individuals would get killed, but it was tossing those aside as irrelevant.
Right, because
Which
it was
is-
only a few, or one or
Right.
two or a few.
And originally, Finch, who was Michael Emerson's character, decided, that was fine until it affected him specifically. And then he decided that he could no longer just sit by and let it toss aside those irrelevant cases. That's where he stepped in. But so he had the system to do it, but he didn't have the physicality to do it because earlier in his past he had gotten into an accident of a bomb exploding that injured his back. So he needed someone to
Do the muscle,
do the
basically.
muscle thing, and that's where Jim Caviezel came in.
Yes, and he was a former CIA operative who they thought was dead, so it was very easy for him to be a part of this plan, and he could go and recover, information from these people, and people wouldn't know who he was. So that was pretty cool.
And of course, his former job in the government, what he basically did was kill people. I mean,
Right.
they sent him in there to retrieve information and then dispose of the people who were doing it, which eventually, once he got out of that job and had to kind of live with what he had done, which is why he became basically him kind of sort of a vagrant type person when Finch got a hold of him. So that's kind of how it was set up. It said in there, initially they're being kind of investigated by and followed by Taraji P. Henson's character, Detective Josh Carter, and also they got involved Kevin Chapman's character of Lionel Fusco, but he was a dirty cop initially.
Right. He didn't want to be a dirty cop anymore.
Well, he especially didn't when Reese had him wreck his car, and which
It was helpful for his
right,
decision-making
which was
process.
funny because he was initially. I hope I'm not giving too much away for you three people who haven't seen this, but he initially was supposed to, at the behest of the dirty cops, take Reese, Jim Caviezel's character, out to the desert and kill him. Of course, Reese got away. They flipped the car. He crawls out and tells Fusco that because he needs help on the inside, I'm going to let you live, which he thought was funny until the car flipped over and he left him there. So that was pretty much the case. In the beginning of the series, they basically were doing almost like one-offs of, okay, this person's number came up. We're going to find out, because they don't know in the beginning whether that person's number come up. Are they the victim or the perpetrator? So that's Reese's job to figure out which one they are and to try to stop whatever the problem is. It's only in later seasons where they kind of joined it no more into a serial thing where they had a running storyline going on. But Jim Caviezel's character kind of reminds you of Steven Seagal, who can act.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is a real good analogy because he's kind of like a badass. I just like him so much, though. He's really he's a cool cucumber.
That must have been the ding saying that was right.
Yes, ding. Correct answer. You may continue.
And so especially in the beginning where most of his fist fights were like one-sided affairs against 5 and 6 people when he wasn't shooting them in the knees.
True.
Which we'll talk about here in a minute. But needless to say, Jim Caviezel is a much better actor than Steven Seagal. Sorry for all you Steven Seagal fans who thought
I like
otherwise.
Steven Seagal,
But I liked him to a point, but no one ever is going to accuse him of being a great actor.
No, but he's a pretty good guy. So I think that, I like Jim Caviezel, and I like his portrayal of this for this particular character, John. I just liked him. He was good. It was very. He did it very well.
Yes, he even had that stereotypical, sort of gravelly, deep voice
which was
hero
awesome.
thing, which is why in one of the episodes where the guy who's pretending to be a hero is thinking, how do you do that voice?
You talk like that all the time.
Of course, the real star of the show came in on the second season, which was the dog.
No, okay.
Yeah, which was the Belgian Malinois military dog they named Bear. And Bear only understood instructions that were given to him in Dutch, which is why Michael Emerson's character Finch had to learn Dutch to command the dog, because even though supposedly it was Reese's dog, he basically took care of him and basically took ownership of him. But there was certain things about the show that were a given all through the entire 5 seasons. So we're going to kind of discuss those a little bit. Okay, number 1.
Gunfight.
Yep, always going to be a gunfight at some point, especially in the beginning.
Could be 1, could be 3.
Right.
Middle, beginning, middle, end.
Right. It said, and in that gunfight, a whole lot of people are going to get shot in the knee.
Right.
Because apparently John, of course, like I said, in his previous life, he was
killed
people. Right, shot them right between
you
the eyes.
really didn't want to kill him like that.
Right. So he didn't want to kill him, so he decided he was going to kneecap him, and that's what he did. Everybody. I mean, like the very first gunfight I remember. I mean, there was a whole room full of people because he was going to take their illegal weapons from them, and he kneecapped every single one of them.
Right.
Actually, except for one guy he left standing there because he thanked him. He said he was going to take those guns until they take safety courses to learn how to use them. But Dr. John Andrews, who does knee surgeries for the NFL, would probably love John because he
Thank you. I've got lots of business.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that as new cast members came on the show, like Samin Shah, who's the badass chick that we were talking about previously,
yes.
which was Sarah Shahi. Pretty soon, even though she was always actually more the one that would want to shoot somebody in the head,
right.
But as she spent more time with John, she started kneecapping people as well.
Right.
So that's probably why when they were first investigating John, they kept saying some guy in a suit and he was shooting people in the knees.
Right.
Okay, so we got multiple gunfights. We got lots of knees being shot off. Somewhere in an episode, one of the main characters is going to get shot.
And you're always wondering, what's going on?
Now, usually if they were wearing a vest, so it didn't injure them any. Sometimes they did get shot, but they certainly weren't Superman. They weren't bulletproof. They got shot a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, later on, as the series progressed, you'd get into these massive gunfights, and it would turn into what I would call kung fu shootouts. And basically, if you ever watched the old martial art films where they'd be having a fight, they'd like throw 15 punches and 13 of them were blocked, and then they'd land one. Except unless you were Bruce Lee, of course, and then you land all your punches because you're Bruce Lee. But in those gunfights, I mean, it's sort of like the A-Team. A-Team, they never hit anybody. But they'd shoot out multiple rounds of ammunition and no one get hit until somebody got shot in the knee, of course. Once their knees were exposed, they got shot in the knee. So they must have ran into a whole lot of bullet allowance or blank allowance, I guess, in this particular case.
There was a lot of non-hit shooting. I wonder if that's how it is a lot anyway.
See, it's sort of like the old school fights you get at high school where these guys supposedly know how to fight, but then when the fight starts, honey, they just start swinging their arms like they're doing the breaststroke or something at each other.
Slap,
You're right.
slap.
What happened to all that, Marcus of Queensberry stuff that you pretended you know, but when the fight broke out, you just started waylaying them. Anyway,
oh my heavens!
But we digress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you had to have that, and then you always had to have a car wreck at some point, and it was either SUV flipping over, either end over end or side over side. It all depends. If they got T-boned, it was a side shot. If it was running up something and flipping over, and
they were impressive.
They were
crashes.
They were good crashes, but they were in these SUVs they're built like tanks, and then they would all crawl out the bottom. So,
but yeah,
right, just moments before it exploded into a fiery mess.
Yeah, their car allowance must have been pretty high because they have almost every episode a car got flipped somewhere along the line.
That's true.
And of course, just because the way a show was set up, there's always going to be a plot twist where someone you didn't expect is either going to be the victim or the perpetrator. They kind of lead you astray and then zing you at the end. Which is kind of what made the show kind of fun.
Because sometimes it didn't happen. And
right. And then you wonder, what happened?
That guy wasn't supposed to be that. He was going to be the good guy. Well.
But that's okay. So also, during the entire series, the show involved a number of flashbacks. But fortunately, they made it really clear whenever they do that because they show a sliding scale of years going back. Or
they call that a timeline here in the United States.
Well, if I lived there, I would know that then, wouldn't I? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, yes. So anyway, so they kind of let you know that the scene that they're showing exactly when it happens, and usually it's just to fill in some backstory to kind of explain what is happening now, which is
Well, it's quite helpful though.
yeah, it's appreciative because it makes the things a lot more sense of what's going on now when you kind of see why that decision was made or exactly what led to that decision. As a whole, the show tended to focus on the balance between surveillance, which is, except, after 9/11, of course, they basically allowed them to dig deeper into our personal lives against the need for privacy. And that is pretty much explored throughout the series. Toward the end of it, it kind of also became a focus as how much control do you want your machines or your computers to have over your everyday life. Certain people thought, fine, hey, they're bringing an order to us, we'll just basically submit. And others like Reese and Finch said, no, we want a limit to how much control, we want some say in the matter. It was kind of like the old Terminator Skynet thing, where basically the computers, or in this case the robots, developed such intelligence that they thought they superseded humanity. So that's kind of the thing they were discussing toward the end. But overall, like I said, when they got to the series final, I was happy with the series final. Much more than other shows that I've watched.
It was very satisfying.
Yeah,
as an ending for the series. I thought it was a good ending. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no real complaints. Not going to make everyone happy, but as a whole, I thought it was pretty good. And they did leave an open door a bit if they wanted to do a future follow up, maybe using different characters for it if they wanted to do that. But apparently they haven't so far because they haven't done it yet. But it was a good show. Like I said, you can find it on Netflix, and if you're tenacious like we are, you can get through it probably within about a month's time, depending on how often you watch it.
There's a lot of action in that series. Lots of action. If you enjoy that kind of action, it's very satisfying. It's extremely exciting at some points, and I think it's definitely a keeper.
They also you develop an attachment to the characters.
Sure do. They do a good job of introducing you to the characters.
Even the ones that appear later on. So by the time they end, you have a vested interest in what happens to them.
For sure.
So that's pretty much what we got for Person of Interest. Like I said, if you have never seen it, we recommend that you check it out. And until next time, I'm Martin.
I'm Kathy.
And we'll catch you next on Coffee Binge.